Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this presentation. My name is Irasema Mora-Pablo, and along with my colleague, Edgar Emmanuell García-Ponce from the Universidad de Guanajuato, we will present in this study that we have entitled Linguistic Landscape of Mexico, the Influence of English on Indexicality and Identity. First, we will start by providing the background of the study, along with the main concepts that frame our research. Then we will explain the methodology of the study and present the findings. We will discuss the results, and finally, we will provide the conclusions. Emmanuel will start with the background of our study.
Thank you very much, Irasema, for that introduction. And now I am going to talk about the background to this study. And well, we know that Mexico has been seen as subordinated compared to the US as a powerful country. However, in 1994, Mexico underwent a change in its economy by signing the North American Free Trade Agreement between Mexico, the US, and Canada. With this, Mexico opened the door to a new economy, new ways of obtaining foreign products, and new marketing. As we know, this opened the door to English in our everyday lives. Because of English in our everyday lives, there is still the possibility of being called malinchista for using English or any American-related product. But actually, it's not English which has created this influence on our interactions. Globalization is heavily present in the life of many Mexican families. So it is impossible to spend one day without being in contact with English by hearing English on TV, reading it in newspapers or magazines, social media, or seeing it on business shop windows. So it is impossible not to use English expressions or words in our everyday lives. At this stage, it is important to define the focus of this presentation, which is linguistic landscape. Linguistic landscapes refer to the study of language use in a particular environment. Linguistic landscapes are most readily identified through the visible or audible presence of language. And this frequently occurs through the analysis of signs. But as we will see later on this presentation, signs are not only used to investigate linguistic landscape and its influence. Other resources are being used to construct linguistic landscapes. Now let's talk about the Mexican context. In Mexico, there are several studies which has been carried out to investigate the linguistic landscapes, considering languages such as English, French, and Chinese, and how these languages are used in tourism. There are also other studies which have been used to explore linguistic landscapes as a pedagogical resource in the English classroom in Oaxaca. Another concept relevant to our study is the indexicality of language. This refers to the linkage between the language and the situation of use for determining the meaning of what is being said. As we will see, in the area of the linguistic landscape, a combination of variables creates a unique ambience and contributes to the creation of meaning by understanding how a particular community aligns or disaligns with the languages involved. Because of the combination of variables that I presented in the previous slide, the identity of a community becomes constantly influenced by the linguistic landscape, marked by the use of English in both the signage of public spaces and advertising and social media available in the local community. So as you can see, signs and also social media or the language used in technology are also resources used to investigate and create linguistic landscapes. Therefore, the use of English in a community makes us think of the orders of indexicality as they define the dominant lines for senses of belonging, for identities and roles in society. In the linguistic landscape, we can find sites of necessity which advertise everyday products and sites of luxury which represent a higher hierarchy in the economy. These points are relevant for our study because they show the prevalent interplay between language use, identity, and expected roles. Social media, well, as we might expect, social media have recently played an important role in our everyday communication. Thanks to technologies, many advertisements have been moved online. They can now be found on platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and other social media platforms. Something to consider is that the linguistic landscapes of individuals go beyond a physical space. They can also be found in electronic space, global travel, media awareness and usage, popular culture, as well as virtual space of the internet. Well, now I hand it over to my colleague Irasema.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Now we're going to present the methodology. We follow a qualitative methodology with a documentary content analysis approach. We took pictures during a period of 8 months across Mexico and also did a search of online advertisements. Photos were taken in shopping centers, plazas, on streets, at storefronts, and also taken from different websites on the internet. We analyze this data and we illustrate how English, pop culture, social media, and creativity interact in the Mexican context. The collected data were categorized based on common themes and features, and we focused on the use of language, slogans, signs, and the interaction between English and Spanish. Mexico shares international boundaries with 3 countries, to the north with the US, and to the southeast with Guatemala and Belize. Mexico can be divided into 3 major regions, as we can see on this map: north, center, and south or southeast. With this geographical space, it is easy to see that there are larger social and economic differences between northern and southern regions, between cities and rural areas, and in general within parts of most of states. We will offer an overview of the status of English in the 3 main regions of Mexico in order to understand the linguistic, social, economic, and cultural phenomena present in ads, public signage, and electronic social media. We initially present how the use of English interacts with notions of power, prestige, and economic mobility. Through some examples of ads in social media, we discuss how this public signage indexes modernity within the Mexican context, and at the same time, how dynamic the linguistic landscape of these three macroregions can be. The North. Mexico underwent a substantial change in its economy in 1994 when the NAFTA was signed. This caused a strong development of all the northern territory, and states closest to the U.S. border improved their commercial relationships as well as tourism. In this growing new economy of the northern region, there was an increment for modern goods and services, and with this, more international brands became familiar in the public signage of the area. However, this proximity with the U.S. was also observed in the use of language. The use of English words by the northern population is quite common. Also, code mixing and varieties such as Spanglish have become natural for this region. A situation can be found on Facebook for a well-known bar located in one of the upper-class areas of Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua. In this case, their advertisements in social media appeal to a particular sector of the population. In this picture, we can see first the name of the place called Little Tommy. The name originates from a diminutive form, in English, of the name of the street where the bar is located, which is Tomás Fernández. Thomas in English, becomes Little Tommy, and Tommy is misspelled, adding an H, as the correct spelling in English is T-O-M-M-Y. These bar's pictures on Facebook include young, vibrant customers with an American physique. Their Facebook ads also use mainly English words, using a trend in commercial ads of the insertion of words or phrases in English as well as Spanish. In this case, only the names of the local food served in the bar are in Spanish, while the main slogan, after brunch, day drinking, is in English. As some author comments, the use of English is quite likely also symbolically associated with a level of skill in the provision of the service that is designed to appeal to prospective customers. This, in turn, might index a sense of distinction and recognition by the customers to entice them to consume their food. The center. The Mexican states with the highest proportion of international migrants are all central ones: Guanajuato, Jalisco, Michoacán, Estado de Mexico, and Puebla. In this particular area, the automotive industry has become important for the Mexican economy. The existing infrastructure in the entity, as well as the wide variety of technical educational institutions, make this area an attractive zone for foreign investment in the automotive and leather industries. Currently, Toyota, Volkswagen, Audi, Kia, General Motors, and Nissan have established an important number of factories in the central area. This has impacted the economic and social spheres of the states, as not only English has spread, but also Japanese and German are becoming more present in the linguistic landscape of the area. Also, the leather industry is essential, as shoes and leather goods are manufactured here, and the constant commerce with the US and other countries has opened the economy to other markets. In this picture, we can see a big billboard advertising an outlet. What is interesting here is to see how the words outlet shoes follow the order of the Spanish language. In fact, the main malls for shoes found in this area are referred to as outlets in English, as part of the everyday vocabulary of the local community. The South. As we previously mentioned, Mexico shares its southeast border with Guatemala and Belize. The economy and social situation are very different from the north. Mexico's southern states attract international tourism to their beaches and exotic natural landscapes as Cancun. These states have a more considerable proportion of indigenous groups, and all of them are usually areas that lag behind the rest of the country. The socio-political situation of this border has been determined by armed conflict, violence, natural disasters, and economic crisis. However, tourism continues to be the main economic activity in this area, and English coexists with Spanish and other indigenous languages. In this picture, for example, we find local signs in Zapoteco, a local indigenous language spoken in the south of Mexico, mainly in Oaxaca, Spanish and English. These signs are directed at tourists mainly, but also at locals who visit the city of Oaxaca. Also, we find a private language school in this area, and they have increased in the last year. The advertisement they use index the power status that English carries in the community. In this picture, we see how a well-known English school juxtaposes the words yellow world with a hashtag and sé parte de, be part of, as the yellow color is a distinctive color of this school, which exists in most of the states in Mexico. This school had a massive marketing campaign years ago at the national level, emphasizing the effectiveness of its teaching method to hablar el inglés pero en serio, to speak English but for real. Across Mexico, their popular campaigns became part not only of the public signage of the cities, but also they were present on TV and now they are on social media. These advertisements, along with humor for intracultural consumption purposes, makes us realize that Mexicans are using English to communicate with other Mexicans. There is no doubt that English surrounds Mexico, not only in the public signage, but also in social and mass media. As Martinez asserts, the language of advertising and the acquisition of commodities and goods have greatly contributed to the creation of consumer identities that have become global and transnational. The three geographical regions of the country have the presence of the foreign language. English has become a valued element because of its geographical position, which becomes evident in the public signage and the social media linguistic landscape. The linguistic landscapes of individuals go beyond a physical space. They can also be found in electronic space, global travel, media awareness and usage, popular culture, as well as the virtual space of the internet. Historically, the sociopolitical relationship with the US has been bumpy, and English is subject of opposing views within the Mexican population. On one side, it can be a synonym of economic prosperity, development, and aspirations towards the prestige that may be associated with the language and the US. On the other hand, English can bring images of invasion and imperialism, to the point of calling malinchistas to those who aspire to this globalized citizenship. This can be directly linked to the semiotics and how each sign has infinite meanings for the people who perceive them and how the sign user responds to what the sign can mean socially, contextually, or personally. Our findings attempt to show how this influence can serve informational and symbolic functions, attesting the power and status of English in the public space and in the Mexican community in general. Results show an increment in the top-down and bottom-up signs in the country, revealing how Mexico has become increasingly internationalized. The study of the linguistic landscape may help us understand not only the rapidly changing urban landscapes, but also the historical background of the linguistic spaces where local repertoires and English are juxtaposed. Here we share our references, and thank you very much for joining this presentation.